Okay, hello all. I've done a video on this recently. I replaced the motor on this device. It's called Fan 8. Now I built this during my early years, not long after I left the high school. And when I done higher physics, that was my strongest subject by, got the higher physics and that when I was at school. And I used that knowledge, even from before that, even when I was in first year I built these fans. Back in 1988, 87, 88, and I've been building them, many of them, for a good 10 years after that. But this is sort of like, this was built in 1992, so I was just over 17. I had shortly left the school, so as the years went on, the fans that I build become obviously improved. But I had this for many years, I've used it for many years. I've done a video on it just recently, replacing the electric motor inside it. Now there is another fault with it, and it's basically making a funny noise. Now I've got a fair idea what's causing it, but I'll let you hear what the problem is. So what's happening is the motor is spinning within the wooden locking plate that I've got on the inside of the blades. Now it's difficult to explain that, but I can show you what I mean when I open it up. You might also want to look in the description to the link that I put in regarding the fans that I built and designed. I made it a few years ago, about 3 years ago, and it's titled something like my childhood design or something like that, but the link's in the description anyway, which will explain in much more detail about these fans, so you've got an idea what's going on. But anyway, I'm going to get this taken apart and you'll see me doing some work on it, or you'll see the work being carried out on it. And just in a nutshell, the fan basically, it's a box with an air freshener in it and an electric motor with blades. I designed and built the whole thing, and when you switch it on, it makes a nice smell for the kitchen. It gives off a nice scent because it's just blowing the air freshener scent out. It's a Magic 3 car air fresheners, or ones like it, that I use in all my fans that I've designed and built. I'll also put a link in the description to the video that I've done recently when I replaced the motor in this fan. This fan lives in the kitchen, that's where it's kept, and it gives out a nice smell for the kitchen. I've taken it through into the living room, on the living room table, so I could get room to work on it. I'm going to take the thing apart and show you and explain what's going on. So in order to show you what I'm doing, I've strapped the phone to my chest and I'll record what I'm doing that way, because I can't do this and film at the same time. So I've got to put the phone on my chest. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the front cover, the front panel rather. Now, the last time I done a video like this, I muted the sound and sped it up. So I could probably just let it run, I suppose. Fan 8, built on the 27th of October 1992. I designed and built it myself. That's the dates when the motors were replaced after I restored it back in 2019, October 2019 it was actually, October 2019 I restored this whole thing. Since then I've kept a log of the motors that I've replaced. Goes in the clockwise direction when viewed from the left. That's the back off. The air freshener, the Magic Tree. Well, Little Tree now it's called. Certainly the original ones used to be called the Magic 3 air fresheners for the car ones. So I cut all the wood, built, designed everything, circuits a lot. I learnt that from the school technical, and physics, science, that was my favourite subject, my strongest as well. That and PE actually was a lot fitter and stronger back then. Done the rugby, cross country, swimming. So PE, physical education and science were my strongest subjects at school, at the high school. And right now I'm using the knowledge that I went into basic training service after school, but I wished I went further and took it to college, but I didn't. Things just turned out the way they did. But I would have liked to have took the subject, the science, further on retrospect. But anyway, I thank my high school. That's why the thumbnail's like that, because I appreciate the knowledge that I learnt from physics, science. At the time, I used to build them, in my spare time at home, and I really appreciate learning that. And that's why I put that photo that I've dug out, that I managed to look out, and put it in the thumbnail. I used that one as well when I done the motor on this just a week or so ago. So I've took the back off, took the front off. That then gets me to access the guts of this thing. It's just a flathead screw. But this thing is built with, basically. It holds it all together. Quite straightforward and simple. Formica dress strips, that's what the white is, that's Formica. That's a wind deflector, cardboard wind deflector there that I built design. That's just to hide an inner panel. Now the circuits is quite straightforward. It's got resistors for the variable speed control. It's got an LED and resistors for the LED light as well on the top, the red light. The problem is with the noise it's caused. As I say, the motor, you would just look at the video to see that being replaced if you want. I'll put the link in the description. The issue is that the wooden, it's friction basically that does the task. The wooden bit in here, it's based on friction. The motor, as you can see, the blades are just, I just built and designed these blades as well, by the way. The motor is, and the blades on the motor is not really connected very well. That's why the motor is just spinning and it's slipping. The blades are just not being driven by the motor because of that. And the problem is there's a wooden bit in there in the centre. I don't know what you're seeing because I might have to take the camera out and show you. There's a better view. There's a wooden bit in there, but basically the motor shaft goes through this to it's a friction drive, so the motor turns the blades via the wooden locking plate, if you like, and it just presses over the wooden, presses over the motor. So you've got that, basically the motor goes through there, and the friction with the wood and the motor shaft basically allows the blades to turn with the motor shaft. But because it's worn, the wood in there is worn, the motor's been replaced that often, and just through wear and tear and age, the motor is basically spinning within the wood and the blades are just slipping. It's not engaging the solder on the end of the shaft there to lock the motor, to lock the blades onto the motor. But the wooden here is worn, so I've got to take the insulation tape off the inside of the blades, and I've got wood and I'm going to replace it, so it's got a much tighter fit for the motor, so it connects up better. It's basically just spinning within the it's not driving the blades are just spinning on the motor shaft rather than with the shaft. The motor was replaced recently, you can see that in the video that I done just lately. So I need to get the soldering bolt out, desolder the soldered blob on the end there, and that allows the blades to come off. And then I'll open up the blades, take that wooden insert out and replace it with a new one, because I've got a bradawl that will make the hole for it to fit on, but it's just worn out. So I'm going to do that now. And just to briefly, it's just a series of resistors and connected blocks and wires and switches and LEDs that make the thing work. Speed control and the switches and all the rest of it. Quite straightforward. And the power supply, it's one of these. Originally it was a Ski Electrics power supply that I used, but when I restored this fan I bought these online and used them instead. Because back then when I bought the thing, well, this particular one 32 years ago, I didn't have all that sort of stuff. I didn't have the money, so I just had to make do with what I had. And I had the old Ski Electrics power supply and that worked. So I based it off of that. It's a 3-volt motor. Let's say you'll get more on this if you look at the video when I replaced it. Just waiting on the soldering bolt heating up, then I'll remove the blades from the motor, then I'll get the wooden size looked out and get another one made. Right, so that's the phone back on my chest. Now you can watch me burn myself and set fire to the house with the soldering bolt. Now you got to be careful with these things, they are hot, very hot, because I just learnt then because I burnt my finger. It was just through my own carelessness, but that's how it goes. That's how you learn. You don't know how to do that again, basically. Right, let's get this off. Time to. So I'm going to just desolder keep the soldering up off the end of the motor shaft and pull the blades off. That's the idea. Before it V-solders. Not as easy as it's always. A little bit awkward that bit, but that's it off anyway. And you can see the motor shaft with the soldering bit on the end. I've just cleaned it off there. But no, I'm not needing the soldering bolt just now, so I'm going to unplug it. There's no point in leaving that on because it's just a risk. If that falls out of there, I could fall into something and burn it and start a fire. And back's turned because I'm going to have to go into the lobby to get this bit of wood. So always a good idea is just unplug the soldering bolt when it's not in use immediately. Right, the blades, that's the motor shaft, that was just spinning within there, it wasn't. This is a friction fit onto the motor shaft. But because this is worn, the wooden insert behind is worn out, the motor's is spinning within the shaft and it's not driving the blades very well. Now to show the wooden bit, I'm going to have to remove the insulating tape from the inside of the blades, which holds that in. And it isn't as easy as I thought. I have to get the scissors and just cut the blooming thing. Cut the insulation tape. It's only held together with insulating tape. Now what was that just fell there? Maybe a wee bit of solder. So I think what I'm going to do is just remove all that. Yeah, I might as well record all this, all the faff in the bolt, because it is just a bit of a pain sometimes to this bit boring, but I'm not caring. I'm just going to do it unedited. You'll see it being done the way it's being done. So this wooden bit that if basically the motor shaft goes on like that. There's still solder on the end there which prevents it from going on, but because it's that worn, it's just spinning within there. So I'm going to just use the bradawl to make another one. Now it's a bit untidy, that's where it fits in there. I don't know how well it's coming out in the camera, but I might as well just get rid of all this insulation tape that's in there because it's not doing it any good keeping that in. I'll just redo all that. The blades are made out of cardboard all these years ago, and I restored it just back in 2019. Now, it's proving to be a little bit awkward to get scissors in there, because I don't want to I'm not destroying the blades and just trying to cut these. But these scissors couldn't cut butter, you know what I mean? They're rubbish, so I'm going to have to... I need to get all that out of there, basically. I don't know what you're seeing because it's going to camera shot. Focusing on what I'm doing rather than filming. Right, I think I'm going to have to get better scissors because that is not doing me any favours. Ah, wait a minute now, I might have got onto it. This might just be the... Right, now we'll get somewhere. Ah yeah, I put the drawn pins in there, I locked that in, so I have to remember to put them back in. That's right, the 2 drawn pins, so I'll move them. I'll go back in. That kind of locks the tape into the inner side of the blades. It's a bit of a pain, but I won't be using those again anyway. I'll use the drawn pin again, but I won't be using this tape again, obviously. I'll just redo all that. I need to get the useful drawn pins out, because they will be used again. These are all original. The tape was done when I restored it back in 2019 because the fan lay in storage for quite a few years, and then I decided to reinstate it again. But I restored it before I reinstated it. I completely took it apart and rebuilt it. I didn't, oh did I? I don't know, I don't think I've done a video on it, I can't remember. I didn't do YouTube until April 2020, but I done the restoration work on this in October 2019. I might have recorded something from my own records, I don't know. But that's the inside of the blades there anyway. And basically that needs to connect up to the motor. It needs to, this wooden thing would go on like such, that locks the shaft on the motor, will connect to this bit of wood, and that bit of wood connects to the blades, which transmits the torque to the blades. That's the idea. But the hole here is just worn out through all the age, and the time just been removed when I replaced the motor. So I'm going to replace this bit of wood, which I've got a spare bit, and then I'll just put that back in like such. Once I get the new bit of wood, I'm going to actually put the soldering bolt back on and just clean that motor shaft a wee bit, because there's still surplus solder on there that's preventing it from coming off. It's just preventing it from coming on, it needs to be tidied up so I can get the motor, get the blades back on the motor once I get the wooden bit done. The wooden bit that I'm going to use is just this, I got it from the cellar. It's a bit of like plywood. I'm going to use this. I'm going to cut the wood from here, and I'm going to use this material for the repair job. I didn't have my back turned on the soldering bolt that long. I knew where it was in situ and all the rest of it. Oh, it doesn't take long to start a fire, so really I ought not to have done that, but it's one of these calculated risks. So it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I know what to tidy up a wee bit. Flick the solder off the end of there. This is just the old one. I don't know why it's not. It's maybe still. Yeah, there's still surplus solder on there. That's the reason why there's still surplus solder. I don't have a solder extractor, you see, so I've just got to make do with doing it this way. Still not going. Normally I just edit all this out, but I'm not going to this time. Oh no, I wouldn't go in with it. Of course not. See, it gets, once it gets past that lip, once the hole is still too worn, so it wouldn't work. It's just getting through the initial. It's because of all this solder on the end of here, it's not letting it get through. You might just take a file and just file it off if it keeps this up. Yeah, I might have to do that. Ah, it's going through now. So yeah, now that's what happens, but it's gone through, but it's still going to slip. So I need to replace this bit of wood. And doing that, I've got this bit here. I'm going to have to measure it out. I'm just going to draw around it basically. So it probably makes sense to use the bit at the end. I'll just use a simple pen. Gives a rough idea, which is a very rough idea of that. And I just need to get a wee hacksaw and just cut that out basically. That's all I need to do. So I've kind of like, I'm going to just do this bit again. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be adequate to do the task that I'm asking it to do. I need it to do. So I just basically cut that bit there. So right, so we've got the wood. Just need to know, use the bradawl to start off the hole for the motor to fit on. So it just needs to be not that deep. Or, that's not what I planned on. Unfortunately, this wood might not be acceptable. It's split. I mean, I could go and get another one. But you could see what the idea was anyway, what I was trying to do. So I don't know if there's something no right about that wood. It's maybe not. See, it's maybe not the plywood I thought it was. That's the original plywood. In fact, that is plywood. I need to get plywood. This isn't. This is mahogany. That's the problem. So unfortunately, the material was wrong. I'm going to have to get another source of material for this, which is a bit of a pain, but I'll find something. So I found this plywood that's a wee bit thicker, unfortunately, but it's best I could do at the moment. I might just have to make do with that. I'm going to have to make do with that because that's all I've got at this moment in time, and that's all the time I'm prepared to spend on it. So I'm just going to have to. It's just going to have to do, I'm afraid. Do a better job. So I was back at the drawing board for that one. Anyway, I thought I had the wouldn't right the first time. No, I don't have a vise or anything like that, so I just have to do it this way, I'm afraid. I don't have all the tools that I need, that I should be using. So I'll just get to make do with what I've got. And this That's what I'm doing. You probably think that watching me saw my fingers off. Saw my fingers off. Not. I certainly do not want to be doing that. Anyway, being careful. Right. I found the wood outside, by the way, because I didn't have a. Usually store lots of old shite and that in the cellar, wood and all sorts of junk, but never what you need, of course. Never what you need. Never what you need. Everything but what you need. It's always the same. Sods it all. I'd make a good joiner, wouldn't I? It's been a hacksaw. It's capable of cutting through. It's capable of cutting through metal. Right. Anyway. This is a dining table. As you could probably tell, I had plenty of telling off when I was a kid. I used to build tables and that, even when I was about 7 or 8 year old. I tried to design things and build them. They were just, obviously, you know, you'd expect for some kid at that age, but it was fun for me. Because I used to watch my dad, you see. He actually did do a lot of homers and repair works and all sorts of things, because he's like an electrical engineer by trade, but he does also mechanical stuff, joinery stuff, handyman, so to speak. And I used to watch him when I could do these kind of repair jobs, and I tried to do my own. But at that age, you know, I never had any. I didn't have a lot of money back then, so I just had to imagine the stuff that I was building and just find things and just build it from that, build it from nothing basically. I used to watch my dad repair the car, fix his car, and I had a toy AA pedal car when I was really young. I mean, what was about 4 or 5 year old I was, and later on, maybe a few years after that, when I was maybe 6 or 7 year old, I used to add things to it, pretend I had an engine and use old toilet roll rolls and kitchen roll, empty rolls, and fitting it and connect them all up and fit an exhaust to it, make it pretend I had an exhaust. I would pretend to jack it up and repair it, and you know, do all sorts of repair jobs. Because I used to watch my dad fix his car, and I used to try and copy that with my toys and add things to them. And when the exhaust blew on my dad's car, I used to love it because it sounded really loud, sounded brilliant, powerful. But Dad didn't. He wanted to get the thing fixed. And then my uncle, his exhaust sheared right off. We gave it to my dad to fix, and my dad picked us up from the judo one time in my uncle's car because it was going to be to take it back to repair the next day. And I was in it, and it sounded absolutely brilliant. It was a 1750 Austin Maxi, and it was really. My dad's car was a 1500 Allegro. That was one of them. And then he had the Mark 1 Escort after that, 1300. Before that, he had the Morris 1000 Traveller, which since I was born till I was 5, 1980, yeah, 1980 it was. When I was the first 5 years, I remember it, because we moved to here, where we're at now, Minas-Hill, from Cheviot Crescent, and I remember the car, the Morris 1000 Traveller. And then he got the Elston Allegro 1500. It was overhead, super overhead cam. No, I don't know. This is how tight it should be, by the way. I'm saying pushing a lot of torque, a lot of force onto the motor. It's got to be, this hole's got to be sufficient to supply enough friction in order for it to spin with the motor shaft. And this bit of wood will then connect up to the blades, which will transmit the torque to the blades. And I'm just using this bradawl to get it to go on to the motor shaft. And using the motor shaft, I maybe should have kept, in fact I do have the old motor, I'll use that for opening up this. That's a brilliant idea, because I know exactly where the old motor is. So now I've got the old motor. This is the motor that was in here originally, but it burnt out. I'll use this as a guide, as a pilot hole, because I could press into the motor. I don't really care about any damage being done to it because this motor's finished. But I will start off the pilot hole, and you can see how tight it is, so it gives it a good bit of friction. The other one is going on so much easier because it's worn and it was just spinning on the shaft. This was just spinning on the shaft, not. I'll try and phrase up. This bit of wood was spinning on the shaft, not with the shaft. It's supposed to spin with the shaft, using the friction as a medium to connect it to the shaft. But because it's worn, it's spinning on the shaft, not with the shaft. So that's why I need to replace that with one that's going to have sufficient friction to allow it to spin with the shaft. And when it does, it connects up this to the blades via the insulating tape and these two locking drawn pins to keep the insulating tape from coming off. That is the idea. And I could press a lot of force in here because this motor, as I say, is finished. What I done back in the day when I built them is I used the bradawl, I used the screwdriver. I used that, and sometimes I would go overboard with it and then I had to go and cut another bit of wood. But because I've got the spare motors now, which I didn't have back then, I could use the spare motor as a means to starting off the hole, and it will be tighter as well because I need to put some force into here. I might actually need a wee bit more bradawl, because the bradawl's got a taper on it, but the problem is if you put too much bradawl on it, it's like to split the wood, which it's been trying to do. And the bradawl is tapered so you could vary the diameter. And then you see it's still rather tight, which is really desirable because that means that it will solve that problem. Now you should never really push it towards your hand or cut it towards you. That's the rule of thumb, otherwise you might lose a thumb. You always cut away from it and always push things like this with a sharp edge away from your body parts, because if it slips or goes right through, it will go through whatever part of your body's in its way. Not what you want, really. This is really beginning to be a bit of a... right, there we go. That's it on. You can see how tight it is, and sandwiched between that bit of wood and the motor is where the blades will go on. So now we're getting it off, you could see the effort that it takes to get on and off. Now, I don't want to be exerting that force on the good motor. I might need to perhaps open it up a bit, but that's only going to go on very occasionally because it's only when I replace the motor really that I have to do this. And just through wear and tear, it's constantly spinning on there, it causes it to probably wear, usually on the startup, because that's when the torque's at its initial inertia. But once it's spinning, it's just basically overcoming friction. It just needs to keep the thing spinning. But the initial startup, the initial inertia, it's when the motor uses its most power to accelerate everything up to the speed. Isn't it so frustrating when things fall on the floor? Right. What I'm going to do now, I think of the best way of going about this. That's what locks it on. The blades go on, and that locking bit goes on. That's it, locked on. But obviously now I need to get the blades, to fit that wood to the blades. It's not quite, this being a thicker bit of plywood also poses a problem. That doesn't mean I could get the solder to it. No, it really does become a bit of a problem because it's got to allow the shaft to go through the other end so I can get the solder to it. And this is all the plywood I've got. So you can see how much of a dilemma this is causing. Now that's enough, really, of that, just to get a blob of solder on the end of it to stop it from working loose when it's in use. Oh, now once it's on, I just tape it on, tape this onto the blades. So I need to get that onto there now. So this is an unedited video, so it's going to take as long as it takes. And you'll see just how much hassle I've got to go through to get this on. Right, that sounded good because it went through. That's good, because now shaft motor end is now through here. I could now put solder on the end of that. That's enough sufficient to get a blob of solder on the end of that to lock the motor, the blades to the motor. And I'll do that next. Then I'll put the insulating tape on to lock the wood to the blades. So now I'm going to put the soldering bolt back in. I'll get a wee bit of solder as a preparation. It doesn't take long for it to, I don't need that much solder by the way, but I just cut that bit off because it was convenient to cut that bit off basically. There's tons of solder, I'm not really bothered. This would be the amount of times I faff around getting it, I might end up going through it anyway. And I want a healthy distance between my fingers and the soldering bolt anyway, so. Just wait on that heating up. So you can hopefully understand what's going on now. I just need to put, once I get this soldered, I put insulating tape around there to lock this wood to the blades. But it's not to be too tight against the motor, otherwise it'll not turn. That will also hopefully keep the thing balanced to a degree. It's not all measured out balanced or anything like that. I was never built to that sophistication. Never did I build them to that. It doesn't spin fast enough. Just say I only just left the school when I built them. The last one I built was actually in 1998. So I would have been 23 when I did my last one. I haven't built any since. I started in 1988, so I would have been 13. I was second year I was in second year at Minesville High School, and I was learning the physics, particular electrical circuits, so I really do thank the school for that. That's why I used the school photos and the school badge as a thumbnail, to thank it, basically, commemorate I suppose is the word. It didn't teach me how to solder though. I learnt that from, well, let's put it this way, I soldered in Tayside Training Services, which is 1992 to 1993, in Young Engineers, well, engineering course. I was right out here. That should be enough. I wasn't great at soldering, but I'm obviously a lot rustier now. I don't do it as a job. I drive buses as a minute, so I don't really have that practice with it. So I do like driving, but it's a job, and like any job, it's demanding. Right, I need now to lock this wood to the blades. I certainly won't be using that again. Get some new insulating tape. When I'm finished with the soldering bolt, I've unplugged it to cool it down so there's no hot soldering bolt lying around, just ready to be knocked, to fall into something that's flammable, to cause a fire when your back's turned. And with all the melee, all this stuff at the table, it's very easy for something just to knock it onto something, like even a bit of paper, which could then fall into something else and start a big fire. So you really do want to unplug these things when you're finished with them immediately, so there isn't the risk of that happening. Right, I've got some insulating tape. I'll use these scissors that can't cut butter, because they're just shite basically. But they'll, well, that's all I've got at the moment. There are other scissors somewhere around, but I've not got the time nor the, can't be bothered looking for them. I'll just use what I've got here at the moment. Right, now this is what I did back in the day when I built them, and just fairly recently when I restored it 5 years ago. Stay there, stop falling over. So I just layer this, just lace this with insulating tape, and lots of it, because that's the only medium, that's the connector between that and the motor. So it transmits the torque to the cardboard blades that I built and designed. Now, as I say, they're by no means are they professional or expert. It's just built homemade style to my standard to satisfy me. And all I'm doing is sharing with you what it is I'm doing and what this is about. These, I don't build them to sell them or anything like that. I did compete with my mate because he done something similar, and if he's watching, then sure he'll know exactly what he done with his versions of the fans. Yeah, they were powerful. They were more powerful than mine by a long shot. I'd have to say that, because it's true. But I spent the time building them and designing them so I could enjoy them, and it was just something that I did, and keeping it going because I'm still using it. It's something that I enjoyed doing back then. So my home times when I came home from school, sometimes I would do these things and build things like this, as well as other things, of course. But there's some of the time was spent, and my other mate done a similar thing. But anyway, we are good old insulating tape. It's just repaired. I mean, there's lots of ways you could fasten it to it, but I'm not changing the authenticity and whatever, the originality of it, and keeping the originality of it the way it was. I'm not changing the design and keeping it authentic and original. I know there's other ways you could do it, but I'm not altering the design and keeping it this way. This is how it was done then. This is how I'm doing it now to maintain that. So I could look back on it and say, this is how I done it back then. Exactly how I did it. The purpose of what the thing's built for in the first place, how I done it, the methods that I used, given the stuff that I had and knowledge that I had. Back then, I think when I was 13, 14, 15, I think my dad done the soldering for us, because I wasn't really that good at it back then. But it's after I'd done Tayside training services in 1992, after I left the high school, I done soldering. There was an aspect of that course where soldering was involved, and then I think from then I'd done my own soldering. I was no expert at it, but I certainly done soldering, and I done it the way I'm doing it now, and I done it to the level of, to my level, the way I done it basically. There's no how it. I'm not an expert at soldering. I just soldered it the way I done it. That's it basically. nuts. A wee bit of tape there. And that tape locks. Actually, I'll put a tape around the circumference of it. And that will put the drawn pins around that to lock the tape in. No, it's not spinning fast enough to be having to be concerned about balancing and all the rest of it. You know, balancing the blades. It makes a noise, but it's only a 3-volt motor, whatever wattage it is. The other fan, the later one, fan T1, was actually a mains power fan, and that did spin fast, and I used actual blades that were purposely used for something else. But I took it apart and incorporated it in my fan. Fan 11 was a good fan. A lot of time spent building that one, but unfortunately it turned out to be a bit of a flop because of the type of material used. Just the white coating cover for the wood finish just peeled off, and it made it look a mess. I still have the fan. If you watch the videos, the link's in the description. I think it's called My Childhood Invention. Goes into a lot of detail, and you'll see all the ones that I've got just now, and I explain more. And you'll see fan 11, as well as fan 9 and 10, T1 rather, and this one. Because I gave the fans numbers after a certain date. The first one I didn't. The first one was just the first fan that I ever built, and the second one I built was the second one. And then I started numbering it from the third one onwards. Fan 3 and fan 4, and they were identical. No, fan 1 and fan 2 were identical. That was after fan A, and fan A, letter A, fan A, and fan B. Then fan 1 and 2 came along, which were identical. So I had fan, the original fan, the first fan that I built, which would have been retrospected of fan letter A, and then fan B, and then I started numbering them: fan 1, fan 2, to fan 9, no, fan 11, and then fan T1, T for transformer. This fan is fan 8. Fan 8. 1992, 27th October 1992, this one was built. So it's about the middle of the fans that I built. I restored this one because it has a nice wood finish to it. And fan T1 is very complex. It'll take a lot of time to restore that, so that will be done in due course. Not at the moment, because I just simply don't have the time. Fan 10 is still in its original condition. Fan 11 is still in its original condition. You will see that in a video if you look on the childhood adventure, childhood exploration video, childhood invention, which was done 3 years ago. I might do another video later, but not today. Right, that's drawn pin in there. It's a locking drawn pin. I'll put one opposite end, roughly where it was before. Keeps on falling over. That'll do. Stick it in there. Right. And being in there before, these pins are the drawn pins are fairly sticky anyway, because they've been in there for quite a while since they were restored. I'll put a wee bit of tape over there as well, just to be good measure. Hey, no, it's not perfect. It never was perfect, but it will hopefully do. Let's power it up and see if it works, or see how it works. Yes, it works. It doesn't make that noise anymore. The noise you're hearing is just the imperfections, just the blades. That was always the way the design was anyway. It will do. It's acceptable. It's back to its original condition. There's no more motor spinning within the blades. So the job's a good one. The job's done. It's fixed. The foil there, by the way, around these resistors is to help dissipate heat, because the resistors can get quite hot. So, it's working. No, well, it's in a part of me. No, I'm not digging out the. I don't have the elastic bands at hand, so I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm just going to put a wee bit of tape on there. I do not have the. No, in fact, I won't, because it could fling off and make it noise. I'll just leave it in that condition. I'm not going to change that. I'll just have to leave that be. That's snapped as well. There's a bit of tension on there, but again, I'll just have to leave that be for just now. That's for another day. I'm not going to dig out all that. That cover to get the elastic bands inducted in. That will be done on another day. It's not really a major problem. That will do for now. The major thing was just getting that fixed so it would get rid of that noise, so it actually works properly, or works the way that it was built. Right, let's reassemble this thing then. So, soldering bolt is unplugged. Obviously it was for a while. Unplug the fan. It's just good practice. The voltages in there aren't lethal, by the way. They're low voltage stuff, so I wouldn't be thinking the wrong way. Like this, anyway, with high voltages. So it's transformed it down. Let's just fiddle around, get it back. Yeah, that should do. Maybe just give it one wee final check. Usually they tend to work themselves in anyway. Aye, that'll do. Right. So, get this back together again. Start my that's one deflector there, by the way, that deflects the wind out to the front, the air deflector, so it directs the air out through the vent on the front panel. The previous fans didn't have that. This was the first one to introduce that. Fan 7 didn't have it, 6, none of them had it. And then from this one onwards, fan 8 onwards, had the wind air deflectors built in. Fan 9 had a very complex wind deflector because I was just sort of building more detail into them. Fan 10 used a totally different set of blades altogether. Fan 9 was the last one that used homemade blades, ones that I built and designed. From fan 10 onwards, used actual blades from another device that I built into my designs, into my fans. I glued them open on fan 10. That's the ones that open on centrifugal force. Well, on fan 10 I just glued them open. Fan 11 I think was a similar thing. Fan T1, transformer 1, used a totally different set of blades, purposely built blades, from a 12 volt car fan actually, an interior car fans, you know, the aftermarket ones. So I took the blades off of them and put it in at my fan, and it's a transformer one, mains operated, which means it has mains voltage going into it. It's a built-in transformer and a lot of circuitry, high voltage side circuitry and low voltage side circuitry. Very complex fan. I still have it, but it's in desperate need of restoration. I don't have the time at the moment. That might be done for another day, but I'll still keep them. I wish I kept them all, but I've got this one, I've got fan 10, 11 and T1, so I've got 4 of them all together. As I say, on that video that I've done titled My Childhood Inventions, we'll go into more detail and show you them in clearer detail. I think when I restored this fan back in 2019, I just took sort of photos and maybe small footage from my own records, because as I say, I didn't do YouTube back then. I only started doing YouTube in April 2020, so it was just before I done YouTube, unfortunately. I wished I did, because I would have loved to have shown you me restoring this fan. If I've got time in due course, I might look out the photos that I did take, if it took any, and sure I did, and I could perhaps tidy them up and make them YouTube suitable, edit out what's not going to be suitable, and show you what is suitable to be shown. So that's front on. Now we'll just put the air freshener back in and put the back on. I change these air fresheners regularly. I used to have a tight regime schedule every 3 weeks, you know, in the early days, when, because at one time I had 3 fans running at the same time. I had one in the living room, one in the kitchen, and one in the bedroom. Now I just kept the kitchen fan. So I had a regime. I used to clean them every 3 weeks, change the air freshener every 3 weeks. Now I just change it when I feel like it, the air freshener, and give it a clean. Anything that goes wrong, I just repair it, just like the day. There's always a bit of a pain getting this on some things, but it's because the fingers have got to. Oh, come on. This is a bit of a nuisance at the moment. Get in. Determined to make this video too long, aren't you? Blooming heck. As I say, this isn't unedited, so you get to see how it's really done. You see what I mean? It's the simple things like this. At the very end, it's got to make a blooming. Just get in, will you? Come on, you did. Right. Totally unnecessary, that. And it's just the simple screw at the top there that goes in that allows that bit of wood to swivel in and out, which retains the air freshener, basically. There's a wee bit of light. As I say, I've got this phone strapped to my chest, so it's a wee bit awkward to zoom in and stuff, but that'll do. So a wee bit of tuning involved, because now that I've reassembled it, everything's a tighter fit. There is a bit of knocking coming from somewhere. I've investigated where it's coming from. It's hitting off the inner panel on the side. Because what I've done is I've switched the blades off, switched the motor off, and I've spun the blades gently with this. So you can adjust that a wee bit for you there. With the screwdriver, and I can see that that's making contact with this inner panel, so it's causing a knocking sound. Now, the way to get around that problem is to, hopefully it will work its way loose, you know, past it, just through clearance, like that for instance, and it seems to do the trick. So it's working a lot quieter now. But that's what it was. Because it's just made of cardboard and it's held together with tape, I just kind of prized that back a little bit, because it was just the way it was reassembled. Oh. And that's how it is. I mean, it's not good practice to put your fingers anywhere near the moving blades, but this is just cardboard, you know the voltage is power, it's not enough to do any harm to you whatsoever. If anything, it'll do harm to it. It'll do harm to the blades, if anything. I mean, I'm only a teenager when I bought these things. I wouldn't be working with my dad's health and safety at the. He's worked in that department, so he wouldn't allow me to build anything that could be, you know, unless I knew what I was doing and that. But it comes to mains voltages, you've got to be very careful. He does an electrical engineer anyway. He does all that. He's done all sorts of engineering stuff, including health and safety things as well. So I mean, you wouldn't allow me at the age of 13 to build something that could I could kill myself with. It was just low voltage stuff and low hazard stuff. So fan T1 is hazardous. That is deadly because it's got mains voltage going in it. So you wouldn't bugger around inside there unless you knew what you were doing. Obviously when I built that I was 23, so I was a good bit older and I knew what I was doing, and my dad supervised it and he put in some added safety as well, just for good measure, because it does operate with mains voltage, which can have an effect with other things round about the house as well, because mains voltage is not the ones you want to mess around with. But because this is just on a power supply, you know, it's like hobby power supply, it's just low voltage stuff, so if anything is going to go wrong, it's just going to blow the fuse in the transformer of any shorts in here. It won't cause a fire or anything like that. That's why the wires are the way they are. This isn't mains voltage. They wouldn't be like that if it's mains voltage. There's certain standards it's got to be, international standards and wiring codes if you were going on the market with mains voltage stuff. But if you're going to build anything like a hobby thing with mains voltage, like my fan T1, it's got to be safe. You've got to have clear markings on the wires, high voltage side of circuits and low voltage side of circuits. Again, that's for another video. I could show you that in another video. I'm certainly doing it today. Today was getting this done, getting this fixed, and it seems to be fine. It's working okay. Slow speed, fast speed, and that light does light up, by the way. As you could see, it all works. Right, let's get the back on again and get it back in the kitchen where it belongs. Right, that's the back on again. I'm just covering up stuff there that I do not want to share on YouTube, so therefore I'm putting this phone cover over the back. It's just in best that I do this. That's why, in case you're wondering why I've got that there and not certain things I'm not going to show, so I simply won't show it. But the back's on. I've got a number. It tells you the phone number that's got made by me, the date, and it tells you a bit about the wiring codes that you'll see clearer on the other video. So I've covered up some of the stuff that I didn't want to highlight, so you can see the back in a wee bit more detail now. There's just things I don't want to show at this particular moment, so I'm just simply covering it up. But really, there's not an awful lot to see. That's what the back of the fan looks like. Yeah, you can see the writing literature and how it was put together, and that's really it. A couple screws, one there and one there, and the back comes off. I checked everything, made sure everything was clear of the blades, and it was all good to go. That's the bottom of it as well, by the way, in case you didn't, if you want to see that. There's connector blocks inside there, so that if these wires get pulled, they don't pull directly onto the circuits. It just basically pulls onto the connector blocks that's on the other side of these wires. That prevents it from doing damage to the circuits. And there's my phone ringing. So that's the fan repaired. Now I was going to show you something. This is a phenomenon in its own right, actually. With the magnifying glass, I could actually see this being magnified with my naked eye, but when I put it with the camera, it doesn't make any difference. Now that's something there that I just thought I'd mention while I was at it. I'm just going to try and show you. But it doesn't make any difference, but when I look at it with my actual naked eye, you could see it being magnified, but not over the phone. It's just an experiment that I just stumbled across. This is the culprit anyway, the part that was needing replaced. That's no longer in use now, it's done its bit. It's been in that fan for 32 years. The old motor that was replaced obviously recently, but that's not been in. There's been motors prior to this motor anyway, but that's done its bit. That's done about 2 years inside there, over 2 years, 2.5 years, used near enough every day. And the fan is now repaired, and it's sounding the way it should. I can smell the scent, and that's it, job done. So it's now going to go back into the kitchen. So the fan is back in the kitchen, doing its duties, which is to make the kitchen smell nice. It's daily duty, and it's usually on all day. So, and I've removed the do not use note, because that then warns anybody to, you know, I had to put that there because it's easy to forget for those to plug it in and switch it on by habit. So I no longer need that note, and anybody could use it now. It's good to go. That's fixed. Running sweet. And the kitchen smells sweet as well because of the sweet Magic Tree air freshener. Oh, it's called Little Tree. Technically, it's still the same shape as a Magic Tree air freshener. It was originally a Magic Tree air freshener back in the days, in the 80s. I don't know when they changed it to this Little Tree thing, but it's still Magic Tree air freshener as far as I'm concerned because it's shaped like a tree and it still smells kind of similar. Same idea. It's got the string on the top, but it makes it handy to dangle down inside the fan. And when I use them in my car, I just put them somewhere where it appropriately to hook onto, and it smells lovely. So that's it. There you go. Right. Thanks for watching. See you later.